Coming up tonight on YCN News, while negotiation continues on New Hampshire's state budget, the capital budget gets approved. Moody Park gets a landscaping overhaul, and Lebanon versus Goffstown in a Senior Legion ball game. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN News, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening. It's Thursday, July 9th. I'm Kurt Weedy, and welcome to YCN News. Well, it is a $271 million capital budget that Governor Maggie Hassan signed into law today, officially known as House Bill 25. HB 25 differs from the state budget, which the governor vetoed several weeks ago. Now, unlike the state budget, which Republicans supported and Democrats did not, including Hassan, both parties agreed on projects to fund for fiscal years 2016 through 2017. Now, these projects include earmarking $13.5 million for a new 50-bed dementia unit at the State Veterans Home in Boscawen, and $16.6 million to build a new Merrimack County courthouse that will replace what the governor describes as a very old and unsafe building in Concord. Other projects receiving funding include expanding the turning basin of the Piscataqua River so that larger sea vessels can navigate through Portsmouth Harbor. Now, as you can see, the capital budget projects serve residents, businesses, and visitors. There is one project that the legislature did not approve funding for, $4 million for 2 studies relating to commuter rail. Even so, Hassan says he is pleased with what the capital budget provides, saying, "While I am disappointed that our capital budget does not include funds for the environmental and engineering work necessary to move forward with commuter rail from Boston up to Nashua and Manchester, this bipartisan capital budget shows that we can work together, compromise, and find solutions to help keep our economy moving in the right direction." Turning to local news, the trails and landscaping along Claremont's Moody Park off Maple Avenue are looking much better than before. That's because Phase 1 of the walking and trail park renovation is on schedule. City Parks and Recreation Director Mark Brislin tells the Eagle Times that restoration of trails and connecting trails throughout the park will make the forest pathways safer and more accessible. Now, earlier, residents were concerned by tree cutting in the park, which at the top of one hill features a stunning view of Mount Ascutney. The city has a forestry plan and the work was done carefully. Volunteers have helped restore the trails as well, Brislin says. Now, beyond elbow grease, financial support to restore the trails may come from several grants, if approved. Already, the city received a $2,500 grant from the Claremont Savings Bank Foundation. Another grant, a bit over $11,000, from the Quabbin to Cardigan Trail Program via the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests, is reducing restoration costs too. And the fate of 2 downtown buildings in Claremont, formerly used for recreation and community activities, continues to unfold. Earlier, a New Hampshire court granted the city's request to dissolve the trust that kept the Goodwin Community Center open and operating. The Goodwin Center on Broad Street was in need of many repairs, and the new Claremont Savings Bank Community Center on South Street featured more and modern facilities. City officials are preparing a request for a proposal, or RFP, for the sale of the Goodwin Center and the Zotto Gym. Another resolution will deal with how the contents of both buildings are either sold by sealed bid or dispersed to other city departments. Well, coming up next on YCN News, do you want to meet your local police chief one-on-one? Well, an opportunity to do so is right around the corner. We'll have that story for you when YCN News continues.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Kurt Weedy. Well, an update on a story we brought you yesterday. A rally planned for this Saturday in Concord by members of the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance regarding Governor Maggie Hassan's veto of a no license needed to carry concealed guns will not happen, the Associated Press reports. The rally was to have taken place on the lawn of the New Hampshire State House. People who are issued licenses to carry guns openly also need to buy a separate license to carry a gun concealed from plain view. The bill vetoed by the governor would have made it easier to carry a concealed weapon. The cause for the rally's delay centers on the time needed for a permit to hold the public event. Well, there's a reason why police often stop for a cup of coffee and maybe a donut at a local donut shop. It's not just to grab a quick bite or get a cup of joe. It's actually a good way to see and hear what's going on in the community. So that's why a new program called Coffee with a Cop is becoming more popular. From the Upper Valley to southward points, police chiefs are encouraging local residents to meet with them and learn more about their local police department. Sunapee Police Chief David Cahill will host an informal meeting 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, July 30th. The coffee and conversation will be held at the Sunapee Safety Services building. As with all Coffee with a Cop events, it's an opportunity for you to get to know your police chief and to learn about the duties and operations of your local police department. Coffee and refreshments will be available and provided by the Sunapee Police Benevolent Association. And on a note of national news, South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has signed into law a bill that will result in the Confederate flag being removed from the State House tomorrow. Earlier, the House of Representatives removed a bill request to allow the stars and bars to be flown or displayed in federal cemeteries. Well, coming up next on YCN News, Kearsarge Chronicle's Carter Bascom spoke with George Pelletieri of Pelletieri Associates Landscape Architecture. We'll have that conversation for you when YCN News continues. Stick around.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Mike Pizzone. Well, it was a little cool out there today with that thick cloud cover, but at least it was a nice break from all that humidity. Those clouds will stick around through the evening hours tonight and may even bring us some showers with a 50% chance for rain after 7 p.m. and temperatures bottoming out at around 59 degrees. We'll be right back up into the 80s tomorrow though, with mostly sunny skies and winds of up to 10 miles per hour before a clear, cool evening with a nice comfortable low of 57 degrees. And things look just as nice for the start of the weekend with mostly sunny skies and a high of 81 during the day Saturday and partly cloudy skies with a low of 61 Saturday evening. Now let's turn the page over and check out what's coming up on the community calendar. Both Newport, New Hampshire and Bellows Falls, Vermont will host their weekly farmers markets tomorrow, with Newport's taking place on the town commons from 3 to 6 p.m. and Bellows Falls happening right downtown on Canal Street from 4 to 7 p.m. Both markets will be held rain or shine. The Ragtime Jazz Cats will be performing a free concert at the Charlestown Senior Center on Old Springfield Road in Charlestown, New Hampshire, tomorrow from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Refreshments will be available for sale and audience members are encouraged to bring their own lawn chairs. Friday Night Bingo at KJ's Place on River Street in North Springfield, Vermont will be held tomorrow with games beginning at 6:30 p.m. Cost is $15 per package and doors open at 5. Well, it's been a little bit since we last checked in on the Lebanon Senior Legion baseball team, so last night I headed up to see their matchup with Goffstown. And it took all 9 innings to determine the victor, but it was Lebanon who held on for a 10-8 victory after taking the lead for good with a 3-run 7th inning. Post 22 headed into the at-bat with the score knotted at 7-all before Caleb Broughton's RBI single plated Briar Roulard from second to put the home team up by 1, before Cam Broughton rounded out his team scoring with a 2-run single to right center. Goffstown got one back in the top of the 9th, but Lebanon held on to clinch its 3rd straight win. The only downside to the victory for Post 22 was an early injury suffered by starting pitcher Chase Hussey. The Stevens grad surrendered a quick run and loaded the bases in the first, before leaving the game after rolling his ankle while covering home plate. Lebanon trailed 3-0 by the time it stepped to the plate for its first at-bat, until this RBI single from Tanner Sims cut the deficit to 3-1, a timely single from Proctor Academy's Matthew Braley, and some heads-up base running from Sunapee's Mike Platt on a pass ball made it a 4-3 game heading into the second. Braley did his part from the mound in relief from there, allowing just 2 earned runs over the game's next 4 innings while striking out 3. Lebanon also got things done defensively behind Braley, including this nice tag on a pickoff attempt to third by Sunapee's Mike Platt. Cam Broughton led the way with 3 RBI for the home team, while Newport grad Andrew Hood also played well with a pair of RBI. Lebanon is in 3rd place in the standings at 8-2 and will host 2nd place Sweeney today at 5:15. And on a professional note, the New Hampshire Fisher Cats crossed the plate with 7 runs in the 3rd inning last night on its way to a 7-3 victory over the Trenton Thunder down in Manchester. The Fisher Cats will round out their 3-game series with Trenton tonight at 7 p.m. And that's your look at local sports. I'm Mike Pizzone.
Thanks, Mike. All week, we've been bringing you parts of our interview with Senator Jerry Little of New Hampshire on John O'Connor's show, Capital Connections. Well, tonight brings the final part of that interview, so stick around after the break to see its conclusion.
The YCN News continues in a moment.